day of hand reading. And actually, it is, from the looks of things, it's the final day of hand reading. We're looking at day 66 of 66 days in a row where we hand reading an opponent's range every time, or our range. But today we are doing the villain's range, day 66. So this is the final one. So let's hope we make it a good one. And looking at the action here, you know, this tag is a what's this tag called? I don't remember. ValueBet tag. That's what I called it. And the ValueBet tag simply means it was a hand that, as I was playing, I would just bet for value. We are hand reading the villain's range here, so let's see what we kind of put him on. Hopefully we put him on a value hand, or on a hand that we're able to just constantly get value street by street with our betting. Open up the hand here. Of course, when we are hand reading, we need our trusty implements of destruction. First off is the hand reading template, Split Suits template right here. You can get it at splitsuit.com/templates. It's the villain's hand reading template. And of course, Flopzilla. So let's take a look at this hand here. 87749-119. Let's see here. We're in MP. Let's see what happens. We raise. Okay. We get a call, fold. So it looks like our villain is TheBlackFeather. Loose, passive, a little bit aggressive, but loose and very passive as well. Lots of calling in this player's repertoire. So we open to 3 BBs. Loose, passive, villain, and cutoff calls. Heads up to the flop. All right, so first off, we'll pick a hand for myself later. Let's think about his calling range first. If we look at this, wrong one. If we look at his 3-bet stat here, he calls 2 bets, and right now he's basically in the cutoff. He calls 2 bets in the cutoff 40% of the time. So let's give him a nice and wide range. We can see his 3 bets out of the cutoff. So far, 0. He doesn't really 3-bet that much at all, 6% total. So maybe he's kind of like just a value 3-better. Let's give him the 50% calling range right here. Start just removing some stuff. I like all the deuce. All the kings all the way through deuce. Ace, deuce calling, 3-betting. The queens are better. Let's give him one more jacks. He could call here as well. Let's not say he's calling all of those. I mean, something closer to 40% makes more sense to me. 37%. I think he can call, maybe not those. Let's say he can call the queen 8. Calling the 10s. He could 3-bet 10s. It's possibly in his range, but I don't think it's a necessity that he 3-bets every 10. Maybe not even jacks, but I got to draw the line somewhere. And we'll give him jacks here. I mean, it is 6%. What do we see here? Big blind, MP. Yeah, but it's a small sample, 114 hands. So let's give him that. We don't want to go so wide because if he calls, he still has 1, 2, 3 players behind who could be raising. And a couple of loose aggressives here directly behind him. So let's not go too wide with our calls. 10-7 sounds good. 8-7, yeah, I think I can see that. This feels like a pretty good calling range here. So we're looking at 36% of the time he is calling our under the gun open. 482 combos. And what do I have here? I mean, if I'm raising from under the gun, it's got to be a strong-ish hand. Let's give myself ace king. Why not? Yeah, why not? Makes sense. I would definitely be raising ace king here under the gun. Even though I got some loose passive, loose aggressive guys behind, I ain't gonna fold ace king. So that's in my opening. Oh, so if this is our hand, ace king versus such a wide range right here, we actually have 66% equity. Yeah, we're a 50-50 chop versus every pair. If he had like pocket kings or aces, it would be kind of a different story. 66% equity. Oh, maybe not so much of a different story. Just about the same there. But you can see our ace and a king beats every one of his aces, every one of his kings, all of his suited hands, his offsuit hands, and we are a 50-50 chop versus all of these pairs. So we do have the upper hand, and the bummer is that we're out of position right here. Let's see what happens. Jack 8-8, heart, club. All right, so on this board, you can see that the equity of our hand, he has to hit a jack, which he has a decent number of jacks, not too many. or an 8, and there's a few 8s in his range. But overall, we flop the nut flush draw. If this is our hand, we flop the nut flush, and so things are looking good. We're still at 70% equity right here. We're sitting pretty. And we decide to just make a c-bet standard. He folds the c-bets 50% of the time. Out of position, he folds 80, so this is actually a pretty good spot to throw out a c-bet bluff. But being that he's so passive, I mean, even if we do have an 8 right now, or if we have pocket jacks even, we should make a bet to start building that pot because we have a full stack behind. We want his money. So I like the bet either for a bluff or for value. Either way, you got to make the bluff. I mean, even if I have an 8, I don't want to give him a free card by checking. He checks behind and he hits a 9 or a 10 for a weird gutter. Or even a heart if we don't have a heart draw. I don't want him to hit it for free, so I've got to be charging him to come along with plenty of draws on this board, as well as I can be bluffing him because he folds so much. So there's a valid reason for betting bluffs and value here. And he just calls. So what is he just calling? I think 1 street. He could probably slow play with quads for 1 street. Sure, why not? Full houses? Oh, yeah. If he can slow play quads, he can slow play full houses for 1 street. But then he would definitely be waking up on the turn-in river and not letting us get to the river cheap. 3 of a kind? Totally. He could be slow playing. Doesn't have any overpairs. Top pair time. All the ace-jack down through jack-9. Yeah, why not? Check call. I mean, it is kind of a wet board. He just has a jack. Maybe wants to pot control. Pocket pair below, 10s and 9s. Yep, they do have kind of a backdoor straight draw, as well as if we don't have a jack right now, he's currently beating us if we don't have a jack or better. All these ugly underpairs, I don't think they'd be calling. We already see that he folds so much out of position, 80% of the time that he folds to c-bets. But in position, why am I looking at out of position? In position, he only folds 20. Oh, wow, he doesn't like to fold, actually. So this is a good spot to basically be going for value only, come to think of it. So I've got to give myself an 8 or better, maybe even an open and a straight draw 9-10 suited. So is he actually going to call with these weak pairs? I don't think so. It seems like a good spot just to fold because you're just hoping for a 2-outer if you have pocket 7s or 6s. I think he should just fold there. Ace high, just fold. Some ace highs will be down here in the draws. No 8 hand. Flush draws, totally calling. Open ender? Sure, why not? I would call that. Gut shot. This guy is so loose passive, doesn't like to fold the c-bets. He's probably calling all the gut shots. Overcards? We could put overcards in his calling range. 2-card backdoor? I don't want to put just the random clubs in. If they're part of some of these other hands, then sure, why not? And then the combo draws too. So we have him right now calling 49% of the time. So if this is our hand versus this range, we currently have 58% equity. Still good. We're still a favorite in the hand. Was it 49%? 179 combos. So based on our c-bet and on this board, we were able to narrow down 50% of the hands in his range. So we took him down pre-flop from 482 to 179, actually over 50% right there, which is pretty nice. That's good because these cards block a lot of his range and things are looking good for us. So we are 58% favorite on the turn. Wow, Queen of Hearts. What a wet board. Well, if we do have the Ace King, we now turn the nut flush, which is great. We would have 86% equity versus this range. 323, that's a good sized bet. Seems like 2/3? I mean 3/4, I mean to say. 75% good. Yep, so we made a 75% best. This is just screaming value to me. We either have a flush or we have like a trip 8s or better kind of a thing right now. We can even have 9-10 to make this bet and hoping he pays us off with like the Ace of Hearts or the King of Hearts. He just calls good. So 3/4 pot bet on this board. He's got to have something pretty darn good to be calling at this point. Now, there's nothing to be scared of if you have quads or a full house. So I think, and he would want our full stack. There's only $10, double the stack behind. I really think he'd raise with quads, so he's not calling. Full house, Jack 8, Queen 8, totally raising. He's not just calling there. Flushes now. Whoa, wow, interesting. 9-7 and 10-7. They're the flush with the back door. Straight flush draw. Not back door, but straight flush draw. They are on the weaker side, though. So if we do have the ace or the king, and if he does have the 10 or the 9, then it is very possible that he's just calling right here with the on the queen with the third or the second nut, or even the third or fourth or fifth nut flush. So let's keep those flushes in his calling range. Straights. Sure. 3 hearts on the board. Doesn't want to bloat the pot with a straight. 3 of a kind. It's possible this kind of player would raise here, but I can think that he would call as well, hoping for the full house, and then he would get active with a full house. Overpairs doesn't have any. 2-pair time, totally. Just calling on a really scary board. Just call, keep the pot small once again. Top pair, that suddenly hit a queen on the turn. Yeah, I think so. Why not? Especially some of them could have backdoor flush draws. Those offsuit ones, the ace, queen, king, queen, queen 10, queen 9, they could have some kind of a flush draw as well. So, and I think they could. He's just overly passive in general. He could be making this call. He started the table with $25. He's up to 30. He was at 35 when the hand started. So really, he might be saying, hey, I'm just giving back some of my winnings. My top pair might be good. So he could be calling with those. Mid pairs now. Just the random jacks. I mean, if he thought he was good on the flop, I think this is now where he'd fold. Some of these have some kind of a backup draw, whether it's a gut shot or a flush draw, so we can keep them in down here. But I don't want to keep these mid pairs in any longer. Not just all of them. Some of them will be kept in with the draws. Weak pair, nah, he should be folding those now. Well, no. The weak pair, well, those have gut shots, so we'll include them in down here. Yeah, so we don't need to worry about that. No nut flush draw, second nut. And because we have these as blockers, he can't have them in his range. So if he ends up having one of these hands at the end, based on this board, then I guess we will have unsuccessfully narrowed his range. Third nut flush, queen 10, jack 10. So those all have a pair plus a flush draw. Totally. Pair plus flush draws are in his range. Weak flush draw. Gutter, pair plus. Yep, those could be doing it too. Not no flush draws. Open end or no. Now, with just gut shots on this scary board, would they be calling? He could. He is so passive, non-believing. If he called the flop, he could call the turn. Maybe on a 4th heart, he would fold. That's always possible. So let's keep those in too. So we're saying 85% of the time he is calling with 138 combos. And the reason why his range is still so wide with some really weak hands is because just overall, he's a passive player in general. These are the kinds of guys that you want to be betting for value big, street by street, just to get max value out of the guy. 85%, 138 combos. Ten of hearts. Woo, Nelly. 8, 10, jack, queen. All it takes is the 9 of hearts. So on that 10 of hearts right now. Oh, how funny is that? The hand I chose, now we have a royal flush. Well, I don't want to say I got a royal flush. I'd love it if he still had all those flush draws in his range. Because it makes sense. If I had jacks full of 8s on the flop, I'd be betting like this, going for value and trying to get value out of a nut flush or a second or even a 4th. Well, that's not a 4th nut flush. That's a nut straight flush. 4th nut flush draw. Let's give myself an ace king right here. We'll change it up so that those hearts are still included in his range, because it does make sense that he could have them still. Wow. I shove. So do I have the 9 of hearts? I mean, I guarantee I have a full house or better. I could have the... Well, if I have the ace king of hearts, what am I trying to get value with here? If I have the ace king of hearts, the way he played it, he doesn't play it like he has a flush draw. He's played it passively, pre, flop, and turn. So the best he probably has is a flush. So if I have the ace king of hearts, what I first set out, a royal flush, what could he pay me off with? Is he really going to pay off with a 7 or a 6 of hearts here? I don't think so if I have the royal. So I don't think I have the royal flush initially assigned ace king. I don't think I have that. What I probably have is some kind of a full house. Pocket jacks full of 8s. That'll be my guess. Or even queens full of 8s I could have because I raised pre-flop. So I have a full house. Queens or jacks full of 8s is my guess here. And so if he is calling on this giant overbet and he made the call, quads. What? He has 17. Oh, greater than quads. My bad. Yeah, so he has... Actually, he does have full houses in straight flushes in his range. Okay. He'll be calling with full houses, sure. Nut flushes, yep, he'll call with those. Second nut flush, all those random kings. Yeah, he could be calling with those. Third, no. Fourth nut, those are the 7s down there. No, he's not calling an overshove with that. Not on such a scary board. There's no way. Second nut flush, king high, yeah. Straights, no. 3 of a kind, no. He's not calling either. I think with my overbet, this is totally going to constrict his range big time to basically just flushes and better. I really think that's all that can call on such a paired and scary freaking board. Yep. 46 combos, 33%. So, yep. Oh, whoops. And then, so now if we do have a straight, and equity of a range is 100% because he's only calling with flushes or better. I bet I have a full house. I don't have a straight here. Let's see what we got. King, Jack, 10-8. So he has the second nut flush. Not bad. With a pair on the flop makes sense. And the 10-8 for trips. And then rivered. Wow. What a beautiful river. Rivered my full house. Gave him his second nut flush that he just could not fold. So you can see why I had this hand originally tagged. Where's Poker Tracker? You can see why I had it originally tagged as a value tag right there, because I was able to get max value out of the guy, doubled up with a full house versus a king high flush. That was lovely. Now, the king high flush, king jack, we removed it from his range. Why did we remove? I think because it is the king of hearts, we probably removed it from his range on a prior street when I gave myself this. Before the river, king jack isn't in. Okay, so the king jack was... So let's say at this time I did have the ace king, and we kept these hands the way they were. King jack gets removed too, because it's a mid... Oh, but it would have been in the... Oh, darn it, because he would have had nut flush and second nut flush draws. So now, if I didn't have those up here, that would have been in his range, and the king jack would have been there. So because I assigned myself a random ace king of hearts, that actually ended up blocking some of the range. So I think our reasoning throughout was valid. In the end, we put him on calling flushes or better, and that's ended up what he what he had. By my choosing the ace king, it blocked it, but our logic was still sound. If I had given myself ace king at the beginning, or even pocket jacks for the flopped full house, then that ace king of hearts could have still been in his range and we would have been accurate. So I'm going to call this a semi-successful hand reading adventure, because we would have been right if I had selected a different hand, a pre-flop. Alrighty, thank you very much everybody for watching the full 66 days of hand reading. This was great. I really think my game is improving. I'm seeing myself make so many better decisions as I'm playing. I think this hand reading really helps me understand my opponents a little bit better. I'm constantly putting myself in their shoes, thinking logically about what they have. And I often think about my image versus what I'm doing and how they're going to respond to it as well. As you can see, I was betting this whole way. From his perspective, I might have trips, or I might even have, like, who knows what he thinks. My guess is such a loose passive player like this doesn't think at all. But if I get against these loose aggressive guys, they might constantly think about what I have. Players like this just look at their hand and nothing else. The whole time he looked at his hand and said, I have top pair and a backdoor flush draw. I have second pair, and now I have a flush draw on the turn. And then when the river hit, I have a flush draw, I'm calling, or I have a flush, I'm calling no matter what. Regardless of how scary that board is, because there's tons of full houses that beat him. I have jacks full of 8s in my range, queens full, 10s full are in my range. 9 of hearts is in my range too. I have the straight flush. I have ace of hearts, ace jack, for example. Ace of hearts, jack of spades, whatever. I have that in my range for betting the way I did on each street. So really he wasn't thinking, and this is the perfect kind of player that you want to find and get into as many hands as you can with them. And when they don't fold, you don't bluff, you just bet for value. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate your time throughout these 66 days of hand reading. If you have any questions about hand reading or anything at all, shoot me an email, sky@smartpokerstudy.com. And, as the weeks progress, I'll probably continue with this hand reading. Not every single day, not a full 66 days, but here and there when I come across a really good hand, a really interesting hand that I play, I'm planning on just continually doing some more hand reading. This might end up being day 67 of 66, and then 68, then day 100. I don't know. We'll see as time goes on. Thank you very much all for watching, and peace out.